Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between Vortix and Real here on Entombed Valley. This is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg game 1 in what I expect to be a best of 3, as we have Vortix spawning as the yellow Zerg player on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Real is spawning as the blue Protoss on the bottom left hand side of the map, and I am looking forward to this series and to this game as Wings of Liberty will be winding down, and I want to see what a couple years of meta gameplay does do. All right, so apparently Real wishing good luck, have fun, and happy New Year to all the viewers. Thank you very much, even though this is cast from a replay and not live. So far, we are going to be seeing a low ground pylon placed down by Real, which is really no big surprise now. Players have been going for that much more macro-centric game in terms of Wings of Liberty. Players know what exactly to do. They know when harassment is going to come, and they know just the right amount of defense needed without sacrificing economy. Now, it will take some time before Heart of the Swarm does get there, and I believe Heart of the Swarm to be a little bit of a more aggressive game. With the addition of the Mothership Core, the addition of just multiple units, Protoss now having more ways to harass as well, will allow them to perhaps go for that Stargate and not be in any serious trouble, since they will in fact have detection while also having a harassment unit. We are going to take a look at this probe. The probe is just doing a good job going in between all of these mineral patches and really causing a bit of delay, purposely dancing from one mineral patch to another, making it difficult for any serious mining to go on. As we now see the drone making their way down here, is the probe perhaps going to warp in a pylon? Vortix doing a good job with these two drones, and Vortix will set up his own hatchery, but it will be a spawning pool first, followed by the hatchery. Meanwhile, Real is already going for that Nexus first, and then should be following up with a forge of his own. Now, this could be a little bit risky. Real actually getting into about 17, almost 18 probes before even starting this Nexus. This is going to be a very strong economic opening. You can take a look down here that Real has 16, or should have 16 probes on these mineral patches, and that is the perfect number, 2 per mineral patch before any diminishing returns. Probe now being forced to run all the way back home, and the question is, will there be a cannon in time? You can see that the forge is now done. There is a photon cannon there, and we may see perhaps another pylon being warped in right there in order to do a block. There is a really smart move by Real, though, trying to purposely pull away some of those Zerglings, as those Zerglings may try and sneak by. Probe just sitting right there in position. It looks like the photon cannon needs about another 10 seconds to go, and it does spot the Zerglings. There is that pylon, and the Zerglings will not be able to deal the necessary damage. Zerglings not getting inside, as the Overlord now pushed back. At this stage, Vortix has a question to ask himself. Does he want to take that third base? That third base, just because he knows that Real is not going to be doing all too much. Cybernetics Core is up on the top. He knows that Real is pretty much not going to have the production buildings. He's not going to be able to generate a large army. And if he can't generate a large army, might as well try and build another base here and get stronger returns. You can see a 27 probe to 22 drone advantage. That is not going to hold long, though, as Zerg definitely has the means to catch up in that macro war with their spawn larvas and those injects, which are surprisingly the same thing. Now, here we go. Double assimilators down here. We have not seen the tech path come in from Real. We are going into level 1 weapons upgrade, and I am curious if Real will be going for either a Stargate or a robotics facility. Now, the robotics facility does allow you to get a little bit more detection off with those observers, and will also open up Immortals. Immortals very smart, a very strong unit if your opponent is going roaches. However, if your opponent is doing a quick tech to tier 2, as we are seeing, we haven't seen the Roach Warren yet. I don't believe there's going to be a Spire, though, just because the gas is relatively late being taken. Triple gas now being placed down as we are going into a Stargate. The Zealot is going to see that there is no hatchery here, and I believe the Protoss player is then just going to sit back and figure out what exactly the Zerg's plan is. I can't quite figure out what exactly Vortix is wanting or trying to do at this stage. He has a slight economic advantage, or he will have a slight economic advantage with those 10 drones now being trained, but he does have diminishing returns, or he will, as he has no signs of taking up this third base just quite yet. Meanwhile, if you take a look, Vortix has no idea what's going on actually on the inside of his opponent's base at all. He can see that gas is being taken, and we are now going into that, where is that Stargate? The Stargate now finally going into Phoenixes, and the Phoenixes are gonna perhaps do a little bit of poking, but now Real also going into the robotics facility for perhaps Immortals. The Phoenixes should be able to get off enough scouting. They are very, very fast flying units, able to traverse up and down terrain with little to no effort, and then be able to fly in and fly out without getting shut down unless an infestor does land a fungal growth. Overlord now making its slow march up, as we do see one Phoenix doing its bit of scouting. So far, 2 base Zerg versus 2 base Protoss. Things are looking up for the Protoss. 51 probes compared to 50 drones. And every time Vortix gets a large round of drones off, it feels like Real just chrono boosts out more and then catches up relatively quickly. Warp Prism now being added, so this could be perhaps a 2-base timing with 7 gates. Real does have a number of gateways, but he doesn't have nearly as many as I would expect if he was trying to actually push in at this point. Overlord's still flying around, and I'm a bit confused as to what Real and Vortex's strategy is right now. I think they're just both trying to get a feel for each other, not quite sure what the other player is doing. 47, 46 drones, no workers killed, so Vortix is not going for that very, very heavy drone economy that I expected him to go. Vortix has the larger army, and he will be able to crash in on this front door, but there is a lot of units here doubled up with photon cannons, and also adding the fact that the Zealots are getting the Zealot leg upgrades in addition to level 2 weapons upgrade. It's going to make a very easy time for these Zerglings who have just started their Carapace upgrade. That's a critical upgrade there. Zealots only need 2 shots to kill a Zergling as opposed to 3, killing them, I believe, 33% faster. Warp Prism now going to be dropping straight up inside the main base and then warping in another group of units right behind this. Twilight Council is about halfway done on that Zealot leg, but what is going to be happening here as we now see the Warp Prism is dropping off units. There's some sentries now being dropped down. Warp Prism now being pulled back here. Too many queens, too many roaches. And very, very nice defense. Vortix all of a sudden getting in a large number of units as we now see a fungal growth and infested Terrans. That Warp Prism will get taken down. A horrible, horrible loss as Real all of a sudden down by 30 supply. Things were pretty neck and neck for quite some time, and now all of a sudden Protoss is sitting on about 1,200 resources, which should be converted over to units in just a moment. He is somewhat supply blocked, sitting at 95 over 100 now. Meanwhile, Vortix is at 126. And Vortix with a much, much larger army, even though much of that is also in roaches. Roaches are not very supply to cost efficient units, 100 resources for 2 supply, as opposed to, say, infestors or other more expensive units like that. Zealots are off over here. Photon cannons. Are we going to get some force fields? Yes, we are. Zerglings now coming in. There's some fungal growth, and the infestors are going to completely flank out this side. Vortix coming in, going to be doing a lot of damage with these infested Terrans, as the infested Terrans are now cleaning up. Infested Terrans in this particular patch still get the weapons and the armor upgrades. If you guys did not know, most recently Blizzard has changed it so that infested Terrans do not upgrade, do not get weapons and armor upgrades any longer, making them much more easy to deal with. It was perhaps one of the best spells in the game just because it did scale with upgrades. As Vortix is able to escape, are we going to see a force field? No force field on the ramp. That would have been absolutely perfect, capturing about a dozen roaches out of position and then allowing just the Colossus to slice and dice them through. Real now has a big uphill battle to climb. We'll see what's going to be happening here as Real now tries to establish up his own third base. It was shut down, if you remember moments ago, as Vortix now establishing up his fourth. Infestors getting off some easy shots against this one particular Phoenix. The Phoenix should be backing away, able to back off in time, and now do a bit of regrouping and retreating. Okay, let's see what's going to happen over here. One poor roach doing a bit of scouting finds himself at the wrong end of a zealot knife. A zealot side blade there. Drones now making their way over. A little gung-ho to build extractors, carrying with them 5 minerals, which will be pretty much lost forever. And we are still just continuing to battle it out here on Cloud Kingdom. Real macroing up a fairly decent-sized army, and at this point, I don't believe Vortix can actually engage without that Spire and without those Corruptors, which he is currently training. Also getting into Hive Tech, meaning Greater Spire is going to be underway. Infestor Broodlord going to be such a strong combination here, as those Infestors will be able to drop down Infested Terrans, get off those fungal growths, and then great synergy with those Broodlords, as the Broodlords will be able to bombard from a very, very far distance. That will only happen once at least 3 of these 5 Colossus get taken down. 2 more gas now being taken in, and it looks like there's going to be a front door attack and a quick run by, Zerglings. Zealot warped in just in time. Meanwhile, an attack down over here as the Zerglings are trying to take down this Nexus. Nexus without any shield upgrades may get taken down. No, the hit point buff doing exactly what it was supposed to, making it more difficult for these main Nexuses to be destroyed. Greater Spire about halfway done. We are now starting to see a wall of spine crawlers. This is very, very, very late 2012. I would say, where Vortix no longer needs the 90-some-odd drones that he has, and then opts to, are the Zerglings going to be able to make it inside? Yes, they will. Wow, that's going to be a bad, bad day. Zealots now trying to engage against those Zerglings. Zerglings are now just trying to dart around. We are going to see Phoenix's Zealots now trying to engage off over here, as the Zerglings may be able to pick off some probes. We can see a slight engagement off down here as spine crawlers are in position. Zerglings still engaging. However, Zealots have reinforced and will clean that up. We are going into Overseers now. Zealots are going to try to engage. Are they going to be able to do very much, as we see a whole bunch of force fields now come down? Don't know if the force fields are good or bad at this point, as the Zerglings are not going to be able to funnel through, but there aren't that many Zerglings at all. Spine crawlers continuing to battle it out. This base will fall by real, as Vortix now trying to pick up some Infestors. Is this battle going to be enough? Infested Terran and the Swarm Eggs down to 70, or only have 70 egg points here, or 70 hit points here, as the Broodlords now come in for a strong counterattack. No Void Rays, nothing, no, is there a blink on those Stalkers? No blink on those Stalkers just quite yet, meaning that these Broodlords are going to absolutely destroy this army if there is a straight up engagement. All right, double Warp Prisms now coming in. 1 Void Ray would be a very, very good call at this point, just because Void Rays still do bonus damage to massive units in Wings of Liberty. Back off over here, Vortix still sitting on a fair number of drones, and things are now looking pretty, I wouldn't say good for the Protoss, but he is in a better situation than he was moments ago. His army composition is quite right, but a fungal growth catches off 2 Colossi, and that's going to be a horrible, horrible loss, as more kids are being now dropped off. Broodlings going after another Colossus there. We are now down to 3 Colossi. That is not going to be enough to deal with the amount of roaches, as the Broodlords are still starting this march. All right, what's going to be happening next? The Broodlords are going to be doing that long-distance bombarding. Here you go, Colossi unable to engage. Colossi now trying to get away. Those Broodlings are swarming and doing it rather quickly and in style. Mothership core, or Mothership, should be trained up soon. There it is. The Mothership may be a little bit late to the party, though, as the Broodlings dealing with 1-2 damage, dealing so much damage so quickly. Alright, Colossi now trying to come back in with the counterattack. Are we going to see a blink forward? No blink forward, as blink is not yet ready. There you go, trying to take down those Broodlords. 1 Broodlord goes down, 2 Broodlords go down. We may have 3 or 4 Broodlords go down, but it may be too little too late, as the infested Swarm Eggs are still being dropped. Vortix now sitting on a 80 supply advantage, and the tipping point has been reached. Vortix perhaps a little bit too slow in trying to deal with all of those Broodlords, takes the loss. No Void Rays, no real way to counter all of those Broodlords there. True, yes, I do know that the Infestors could have dropped infested Terrans, and also got off some fungal growths to cause some problems. But something needed to be done. Perhaps High Templars feedbacking the Infestors, merging into Archons with Void Rays. That would have been a better call, as opposed to just trying to get that Blink Stalker upgrade, as Blink Stalkers take about 140 seconds. And in that time, I believe the Stargate could have trained 2 Void Rays. You could have gotten a couple of Infestors a couple of High Templar who could have infested or feedback those infestors and then merged them into Archon pretty much immediately. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed Game 1 in this series. Please stay tuned for Game 2.